So it was in one of your books, because I read them both before you got here, where you were talking about the term buying the listing, and it's come up a few times on these very tables. What is that, and why are home sellers perhaps vulnerable to a little real estate agent trick, so to speak?
Yeah, I think this is probably my biggest hate of our industry, Glenn. It's agents who buy the listing. So what it's about is it's agents that don't have any skills in being able to demonstrate to a seller how they can get the best price for their property. So they're going into their sellers and they're saying that it might be worth a $500,000 house, for example, that might be market value, and they're going and saying, well, we can sell it for $600,000, hoping the seller will pick them, because every seller wants to get the maximum they can. So, they're overpricing the property so that they can then beat the hell out of the seller later on once they've got it listed, to get it down to a sellable price. So you want to be avoiding those people. I had a client recently that I appraised their property and thought it was in the mid 600 range, gave them all the evidence of why it was in that range. And that's an interesting example, because someone who is trying to buy the listing will not have any evidence of that higher price. They just will not be able to produce
So
it.
they'll just pick it.
They'll just pick a figure to try and get the listing, but this seller decided to go with that agency who told them it was worth $865,000.
Wow.
So
So 200,000 not above.
But worse than that, Glenn, the agency that quoted that brought their 8 salespeople through to have a look at the property, and at the end of it they all got together and said to the client it's worth $865,000. And I said to the client, well, what evidence did they give? And his exact response was, well, nothing, that was their opinion. I said, well, that's the problem, they gave you no evidence of where it's at. Anyway, cut a long story short, 8 months later, 4 agencies later, an auction campaign later, $8,500 in marketing later,
The sellers had spent.
The sellers had spent. The seller rang me and he said, I think you better come back and have a talk to us again.
I think you better.
So we went back to him, had a chat to him, and took the property on, did some amazing stuff with staging the property and marketing the property, and had it sold in 3 weeks for $655,000. So,
Exactly
which
where
they
you
were
see that.
ecstatic about, because they were so sick physically from the 8 months of stress. It was manifesting itself in sickness, and they were an elderly couple going into retirement, and they were just ecstatic about the result.
As you were saying that, I was sitting there in the early stages of you telling that story. I was sitting there going, is there any chance that it was naive optimism that led to that? But if there was 8 of them saying it, we know that must be a strategy. That must be a tactic, we can't even give them the benefit of the doubt. That say maybe it was just ignorance.
Yeah, no, it's a tactic that the agency used to win that listing.
Yeah. So guys, you need to be aware of this and find the Lee Sutherlands of your area and not fall for this sort of thing. So, find someone who's going to stage it. Like, grab a copy of this book. Lee goes into great detail on staging homes, choosing agents, finding that right agent, and making those simple tips that will add tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars to your back pocket and save you from that sort of heartache.